This is the host. I grew up on a steady diet of horror movies and serial killer documentaries. So when I heard about this podcast, I knew I had to check it out. It's called The Podcast, and here SY, I think it's one of the scariest podcasts ever made. Our story begins with a man named John. He asks the host of a true crime podcast, and he has just moved to a small town in Texas called Eastview. John is obsessed with a series of unsolved disappearances that happened in the town years ago. There were 5 young women who vanished without a trace, and the police never caught the guy responsible. John believes that the killer is still out there and that he's hiding in plain sight. And the creepiest part is he might be right. One day, John receives a call from someone who wants to remain anonymous. He says that he has information about the case, and he wants to tell John everything he knows. At first, John thinks this is just another one of those prank calls that you get on a true crime podcast. But this guy is clearly very knowledgeable about the case. He even mentions details that only someone who was there would know. So John decides to put him on speakerphone and start recording the conversation. What follows is one of the most terrifying phone calls I've ever heard. I'm going to try to summarize what the caller says, but it's hard because this guy goes into so much detail. Basically, he starts by telling John that he wasn't always good at math. And this is important because one of the victims was a math teacher. The caller then tells John that he remembers the exact day that she disappeared. He was with her on the day she went missing, and he was the last person to see her alive. He tells John that he took her out to dinner, and then they went back to his house. That's when things got bad. He said that he was going to kill her. She tried to fight back, but he was too strong. In the struggle, he accidentally knocked her head against the fireplace, and she died instantly. He panicked and buried her body in the backyard. Then he went inside, washed his hands, and called his friend to help him dispose of the body. But when they got to the backyard, they couldn't find the body. They searched everywhere, but it was nowhere to be found. So they gave up and went inside to watch TV. The next morning, he got a call from the police, asking if he had seen the girl. He lied and said he hadn't, and then he spent the day digging up the backyard, but he still couldn't find the body. Eventually, he just gave up and filled in the hole. As he's telling all of this, John is frantically looking up property records on his computer. He's trying to figure out who this guy is and where he lives. The caller keeps talking and he reveals even more information. For example, he tells John that after the girl's body was found, he moved out of state for a while. But eventually he came back to visit his family, and that's when he killed again. This time it was a waitress at a local diner. He tells John that he went to the diner on the night she disappeared. He sat down and told the manager that he needed to speak to the waitress. When she came over, he asked her to come back to his house with him to help clean up a crime scene. And then he killed her. As he's saying this, John looks up the diner on Google Maps. It's a place called Mama's Kitchen. He recognizes the name of the waitress. It was Sarah or Sally. He can't remember which one. But John does know that both of these women were buried in backyards. So he starts looking up properties for sale in Eastview. And sure enough, there's a house that matches the description of the first one. He asks the real estate agent about the backyard, and she says that it's pretty big. That's when John remembers something, goes back to the Google Maps website, and zooms in on the second house. And sure enough, there's a big backyard. At this point, John's heart is racing. He's sweating. He's trying to stay calm, but he's terrified. And then the caller says something that makes the hair on the back of his neck stand up. He tells John that he isn't confessing to past crimes, he's confessing to future ones. He tells John that he S his next victim, and he asks coming over to his house right now. As he says this, John tries to get the caller's location, but it doesn't work. The killer is already in his home. If you want to hear more scary podcast stories, let me know. I'll do my best to oblige. Until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe.